In the mid-1980s, at age 39, Carol Todd began borrowing money from the federal government and private lenders to attend college. She first pursued a GED, then an associate's degree, and then a bachelor's degree from two private colleges, all paid for with student loans. She went on to earn two master's degrees from Towson State University in Maryland. In 1992, she entered the University of Baltimore School of Law, but she didn't graduate. After a lengthy hiatus from school, she decided that her education was still incomplete. So in 2007, she earned a PhD from an online, unaccredited university. Todd had borrowed her way through 20 years of higher education, taking advantage of every benefit that government lenders, private lenders, and colleges and universities would offer. And she racked up an astonishing $339,361 in student loan debts. There was no way she could possibly pay it back. And she doesn't have to. On May 17, 2012, a U.S. bankruptcy judge ruled that Todd, by this time 65, had the right to discharge her loans. Todd had met the famously stringent undue hardship exemption. Her excuse? Asperger's syndrome, an autism spectrum disorder, ASD, that often makes social interaction difficult and can be characterized by repetitive patterns of behavior and interests. One could certainly question the legitimacy and justice of such a ruling. How debilitating is her condition after all, considering she successfully completed hundreds of credit hours of academic work? But the real question is, how was Todd allowed to borrow so much money over so much time when she never demonstrated an ability to repay it? Why didn't anyone ever stop and question Todd's creditworthiness? Who was on the hook for all of her unpaid loans? Zombie generation. Todd has an extreme amount of debt, but her story as it relates to student loan obligations and problematic lending policies is not so unusual. Many of today's college graduates are suffocating under mountains of debt, with slim chances of gaining suitable employment to pay back their debt in a timely manner. At a beachside restaurant in North Carolina last spring, we struck up a conversation with a 34-year-old bartender. In between fixing cocktails, he grimly told us that when he graduated from college, he had accumulated more than $50,000 in debt. He still had about $40,000 left to pay and felt disillusioned with his prospects of ever paying it back. "I didn't go to college to have this job," he said with a sigh. "I'm living in a box." It was hard to tell whether this was a comment on his living arrangements or prospects in life. For too many college students, this story is becoming the norm. We are creating a zombie generation of young people larded with debt and in many cases dropouts without any diploma, said Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's, the credit ratings giant. A New York Times series profiled several graduates in their struggle to dig out from their massive school loans. One young woman, a graduate of Ohio Northern University, is currently carrying a debt load of $120,000 and works at two restaurants while searching for a full-time job in marketing. Another, a dropout from Bowling Green University, works 3 jobs to pay down her $70,000 debt. "I'll be paying this forever," she says. She doesn't even entertain the idea of going back to school someday. "For me to finish, it would mean borrowing more money. It makes me puke to think about borrowing more money." According to the National Center for Education Statistics National Post-Secondary Student Aid Study, 53% of all full-time students took out student loans in 2007-2008, the last year for which data are available. The average debt load per student upon graduation now runs $23,300, according to the Federal Reserve. About 25% of borrowers owe more than $28,000, whereas 10% owe more than $54,000. 3.1% owe more than $100,000, and 0.45% owe more than $200,000.